Please subscribe and don't forget to press the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload a new video.
Straight onwards then to a mega CNBC TV18 exclusive. My colleague Shereen Bhan traveled all the way to Seattle to catch up with Microsoft's founder Bill Gates, who, remember, is also the chairman of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and began her chat with asking him about the Giving Pledge campaign and how it has turned out so far here in India. Let's listen in.
When you join the Giving Pledge, you're not pooling money or, picking particular causes. You're simply making a moral commitment that as somebody who's been hyper successful, the majority of your wealth will go for philanthropic causes. And as everyone who joins sets an example and says, hey, society should expect the super successful to engage in giving back in some way. And hopefully they'll take their talent and their connections, their understanding, and do it in a way that drives innovative new services. We have a lot of Giving Pledge members who have a connection to India. In Dubai, a lot of the members are originally from India, doing a lot of their giving in India. In India itself, we have some amazing people. And then in the U.S., as you say, a lot of Indians who are here and successful, again, giving back into India. And so when we get together, we talk, how do you give to education in India? Azam Premji has made that his big cause. In fact, amongst the Indian philanthropists, education really sticks out as the #1 cause. And yet, because the government's so involved, how do you help the government innovate? How do you do pilot schools? What do you do? Nanda Neelankani has this X step, which I'm very enthused about. It shows a lot of promise to help kids, even very young kids, learn numbers and words. And so we share success stories. We find ways that we can cooperate with each other. It's kind of a movement, a global movement that helps us do more and work with each other. Then India has its own group of the India Philanthropy Initiative, which is a meeting that's done every year, and I've been at most of those. I'm missing the one this year, but that's always been inspiring in terms of new people coming in and making commitment to philanthropy and sharing exactly what they're seeing.
The startup ecosystem in India is exciting at this point in time. Is that something that you would look at in your personal capacity, or through the foundation is something that you may want to sort of invest in, collaborate with?
Well, the foundation, whenever you have new agricultural tools, animal vaccines, better seeds, we on the vaccine side have been a primary funder of a lot of the work by the Indian vaccine companies to encourage them to do new products. We did one of our first big projects was the meningitis A vaccine, which was with serum, and now we've done things like that with about 6 different manufacturers. So whenever it fits the foundation's goals, then we look for the startups and want to help them. But that's purely philanthropic.
Shifting gears just a little bit to a key corporate development then, Paresh Sukhtankar has resigned as the Deputy Managing Director of HDFC Bank. Now, the bank's exchange filing says the resignation will come into effect about 3 months from now. And let's actually bring in our banking correspondent Ritu Singh, who's joining us with more details on what this really means for the company going ahead. Ritu, Sukhtankar was widely seen as the successor, in fact, of sorts to Aditya Puri. What are you picking up, and what actually could be the probable reasons behind the resignation and the timing of the entire decision, really?
You know, Paresh, Sukhtankar has been at HDFC Bank since its inception in 1994. He spent over 2 decades of his life serving at HDFC Bank. In 2007, he was elevated to Executive Director, and in 2014, he was made the Deputy Managing Director at HDFC Bank, second only to the CEO. And it was the wide expectation that when Aditya Puri retires, it'll be Paresh Sukhtankar that will take over the mantle from him and steer HDFC Bank from there on. So today's announcement of his resignation has clearly come as a big surprise to many, and we spoke to insiders within HDFC Bank. What we're given to understand is Sukhtankar told the board that the resignation was for personal reasons, although he did not specify if he would be joining any other financial institution or bank for that matter. We're also given to understand that he said to the board today that he wanted a change in his current work environment, and although the management persuaded him to stay, Sukhtankar chose to resign nonetheless. His resignation will come into effect 3 months from now, another 90 days to go, so which has led a lot of people to speculate on whether or not he could be joining Axis Bank, where Shikha Sharma is due to retire in December. But of course, insiders within HDFC Bank that we spoke to said it is unlikely that he would join a rival like Axis Bank, but we'll only find out at the end of those 3 months where Mr. Sukhtankar finally ends after his long journey at HDFC Bank.
Thanks, Ritu. Appreciate you joining us with details on that development. But on that note, it's time to slip into a quick breather right here on the show. But when we come back, Coal India is all set to post its first quarter earnings. Details on expectations on the other side of... Welcome back, and so good to have you right back here on Business Saturday. Let's talk about the key earnings then. And Hindalco, remember, posted a mixed set of Q1 numbers yesterday. While the top line has come in slightly below estimates, the EBITDA managed to beat street expectations. In fact, my colleague Nisha Podar caught up with Satish Pai, the MD of Hindalco, and began by asking him really what the impact of the ongoing trade war with the company and the industry at large, and what it will mean for the company in the quarters to come. Let's listen in.
Imports into India in Q1 of this year are 20% above the Q1 of last year. So it's absolutely true that imports have surged. And we are discussing with the government and submitting data because we are asking for quantitative restrictions, because we don't want there to be such a big surge in imports coming into India. So quantitative restrictions, we are also asking for a scrap standard to be implemented, because the amount of scrap coming into India has gone up by 23%. So this is really a big spike, and it's a result of the trade wars that are going on.
All right, and how has the government responded?
So the government has been very supportive, but I think that we are providing some data, and we are hoping that the government will move on our requests for quantitative restrictions, as well as the following of a scrap standard.
Any timeline in place for this?
No, I hope sooner rather than later.
Meanwhile, Kolkata-based mining behemoth Coal India is all set to post its first quarter numbers later today. Let's bring in Nigel D'Souza from the markets desk to talk about what kind of expectations we can have from the numbers that Coal India is likely to post. Nigel, what are you picking up?
Well, in terms of Coal India, our poll threw up a rather strong set of numbers coming in on a low base. On the top line itself, we're expecting a growth of around 30% approximately. Operating profit should double, margins at around 26% approximately, and profitability should come in higher by close to around 75%. What are the factors at play then? Let's start off with the top line. The top line sees a good growth because of higher volumes as well as higher realizations. Remember, one part of that we already have, because we have the sales number that's coming at around 153 million tons. The production numbers as well have grown by nearly around 15% approximately. But when you're looking at the sales volume growth, you want to know what was the growth in terms of the FSA sales and what was it in terms of e-auction sales. Now, for e-auction sales, it should be more or less flattish at around 27, 28 million tons odd. But in terms of FSA sales, that should come in higher by nearly around 14% at around 120, 122 million tons odd. Realizations as well should come in higher. Remember, in terms of the FSA realizations, that should jump up by nearly around 10% approximately. Remember, they've done a couple of price increases. So that will play out, and e-auction prices will look very strong on a year-on-year basis should jump up by nearly around 30% odd. Margins will improve because of better operating leverage. You have higher sales, higher volumes as well. And importantly, they have undertaken some cost rationalization measures. Let's see whether or not that works out. So we'll be waiting by for the set of numbers. All in all, it should be a rather stable to a good set of numbers.
Nigel, appreciate you joining us with the poll expectations. But moving on, come the 15th of August, Prime Minister Narendra Modi may make note of the Ayushman Bharat scheme during his address to the nation. Now remember, he recently held a review meeting with the entire Ayushman Bharat team in New Delhi, and Shereen Bhan spoke to Indu Bhushan, the CEO of Ayushman Bharat, to get a status check and began by asking if they're actually ready for the rollout of this entire scheme.
Honorable Prime Minister had this review meeting last week on Saturday, and he went through the whole process, preparation process, what we've done so far, and we are ready for rollout whenever we are told to.
Okay, the assumption is that this will be rolled out on the 2nd of October. Is that the date that you're working with? And what can we expect perhaps on the 15th of August from the Prime Minister, specifically on the Ayushman Bharat?
Well, we've not been given a date, and we will go with whatever we are told. And we are getting ready for the rollout, and we are putting all the elements of the scheme in place, and as and when we are given the marching orders, we'll be ready.
Okay, so speaking of the elements of the scheme, sir, what is the final update on the number of states that have come on board? I was given to understand that about 8 states have not signed up for the scheme so far. The rest have. Can you give us a status check on the states who are now on board? And what is the mechanism? Because the last conversation that you and I had, you said that the states would be given some degree of flexibility in designing the scheme. Where do things stand now in your negotiations with state governments?
Yes, you're right. 28 states are on board right now, and 8 states which have not signed up yet. Many of them actually are on the verge of signing, and there are states which where the necessary approvals have been done, and it's a question of just going ahead and signing the MOU. For example, Maharashtra cabinet had approved this, I think, on Monday, and we'll be signing the MOU with them soon.
Welcome back. Throwing the spotlight then on to Kerala, the southern state, which is seeing floods wreaking havoc, with the death toll increasing to about 29 currently. What we're picking up is 11 out of the state's 14 districts have also been placed on red alert. Definitely not good news for the residents of Kerala. Let's bring in Radhika Ramaswamy, our colleague, who's going to bring us an update of what the situation on the ground really looks like. Radhika, what is the situation like, and is it any improvement expected in the next couple of months?
At this point, I'll tell you where I'm standing. I'm standing next to Cherutoni Dam, which is close to Idukki Dam. And this is one of the shutters of the Idukki Dam that was open. I'll just show you the shutter that was open just about a day before yesterday. So this is one of the 5 shutters of Idukki Dam, which is in Cherutoni Dam, that was open. So right now we are at that spot where the shutters were open, due to which, of course, several people had to be displaced as the water level raised in this particular dam. Now, of course, what we are hearing from the officials here is that the water level has come down. The situation is a little better than what it was 2 days ago. You can see several people who've in fact come to just take a look at the shutters that's open. So a lot of people are allowed close to Idukki Dam, close to Cherutoni Dam. So you can see people going into different corners of this particular area as well, which was not allowed in the last couple of days. Of course, police officials manning this area, but of course things have subsided a bit, is what the officials here are saying, that once the water level comes down, then people you know, it is a relief for many of the people who are living on the banks, who've now been displaced. Probably in a couple of days' time they may be able to go back to their homes.
Radhika, thanks for bringing us that update, and we will be touching base with you shortly to see how the situation on the ground in Kerala is. But moving along to news that you and I can use, modern-day consumers, remember, have high expectations, and over time it seems that e-commerce companies have managed to meet them by providing better customer service year after year, and more importantly, increasing delivery speeds of an online order. Now, to get us a glimpse of what goes on behind the scenes once a customer places that order, CNBC TV18's Megha Vishwanath decided to travel to Amazon's latest fulfillment center in Haryana and decode all the action and track the journey of an online package from when you place the order to when it reaches your home. Let's take a look.
If you've ever wondered how many products do humans actually need, just take a look at these shelves. How does your online package gets delivered in less than 24 hours? What happens from the time you hit that buy button to the time your delivery is made at your doorstep? I decided to visit Amazon's fulfillment center in Haryana to find out what happens behind the scenes. So this is step one at Amazon's fulfillment center. This is where all the sellers who actually list their products on Amazon.in send their inventory, and this fulfillment center helps them store their inventory. There is more tech in it than you think. Once this inventory is unloaded from the trucks, it's brought into Amazon's fulfillment center, and then all this goes through their scanning system where it's weighed, it's marked before they shelf it in the center. Once the item is scanned into the system, it is added to these shelves here, which is as good as being listed on Amazon.in. When it comes to the e-commerce battle, speed is everything. The associates on the floor are handed out this device that actually flashes the number of the aisle, for instance, something like this number, to tell them where they need to pick the products from to send it to the packing stations. It also helps them make the most of the storage space available and tell them where they can store the products and which aisle or which rack has more space available. All these conveyor belts that you see right here have a scanner that is installed inside them. They identify each of these totes to tell the system whether an order is multi or singular. And depending on the nature of the order, the totes are automatically passed on to the packing stations. Now this is where all the magic happens. This is where your products are packed and put together before they are shipped out for delivery. While I was on this floor, I noticed a little trick that these Amazon associates use. Remember we told you that all the products that are brought into the fulfillment center are weighed before they are shelved? Well, once you place the order, the associates here tally the total weight of the products along with the weight of the box just to ensure they haven't packed anything that wasn't supposed to be delivered. A simple but a very logical trick. As a customer, when you place an order, you are shown a promised time of delivery, and that same time is reflected on Amazon's internal system as well. The internal technology and algorithm helps each fulfillment center decide by what time it has to be packed and by what time it has to be shipped via which mode of transportation. So this is my favorite part and the last leg at the fulfillment center, where finally packaged products are kept. And if you're an online shopping addict like I am, then you would know what I'm talking about. The smell of fresh packaging and the mystery of not knowing what's inside it. That's it on this edition of CNBC TV18's Inside Amazon Fulfillment Center. I'll see you guys next time.
Well, now you know all the work that goes behind after you just click to place your order and when it finally arrives on your doorstep. But on that note, we're absolutely right on this edition of Business Saturday. But stay tuned to CNBC TV18 as news and headlines continue all weekend. Thanks for watching.